Jonathon and Travis with you again for Southern Ontario Dirt Show episode number 20. Travis, who's the 20 that comes to mind first for you?
I want to say one that we forgot last week. It might be it's definitely one of the more iconic 19s was Rob Lettingham. And Steven Zelsnak brought that up in a message this week. So definitely forgot Rob Lettingham in the 19s. And then for the 20s, I'm going to steal two because they're the two biggest ones that I can think of in the area. And it's the McGinnis family, Don and Jeff, and the mongrel, Jay Mallory.
Very nice. Yeah, I was going to go with mongrel. So you kind of, no, I want to say you stole mine, but I mean, it's a pretty obvious one, especially at Merrittville.
Johnny Miller.
Okay, all right, give me more. Oh, yes, that is true. Johnny Miller.
And Braden Cooley.
Right.
But he just had a little pretty drama-filled breakup with old GSR there. So I don't know if we can count him anymore. But yeah, for most of the season, Braden Cooley, 360s.
Yeah, we'll see what number he is in the near future, and if anybody else is taking over that 20 ride in the near coming future.
Johnny Miller drove it on Friday in the 360s.
Right. I wonder, do you think
he might?
Well, I mean, look, we can get into this. We're starting with Ohsweken anyway, so do you think Johnny's going to be the full-time?
I have no idea.
Guy there?
No clue on that one. Glenn can change his mind so quick, but he definitely didn't look out of place, so I could see him letting run it.
That's the most important thing, I guess, right? Is you got to make sure the car looks good. So I guess we got to start with Ohsweken on Friday. That was the final night for the sprint cars in terms of points. So we have our champions there, right? Or was that an extra week? I always mix up theirs because I know they have one extra week, and I'm like,
sprint cars are done.
The extra week? No, that was it, right? This was the points finale weekend, right?
Yeah. Right.
So for the sprint cars. So I'm got that straight in my head. It's been a long week. A lot of math at Merrittville. I haven't had to do any math at Ohsweken, thankfully. It's all been done for me. I just have to read it. But we'll start with the race finishes. We'll start with that. So Ryan Turner wins the feature on Friday night over Aaron Turkey and Nick Sheridan. Our buddy brings it home third, Mitch Brown fourth, and Mike Kushka fifth.
Hell of a race. I'd say the 360s might have been the best show on Friday. A lot of times it's been Street Stocks this year, although Street Stocks was really good again too. So yeah, both of them. But Aaron Turkey started outside pole. Sheridan started on the pole. And Sheridan fell back a little bit. I think he fell back to fifth first. Definitely wanted to be on the outside there. I personally think the leader at Ohsweken should be able to pick inside or outside because 90% of the time going into one, outside is the best. And I think.
So you say that for the whole race, or for the
initial start? After that, you can pick, I believe, because it's right now we're still single file, but we did test with double file at the Monday-Tuesday show there, and at that point, then the leader would be able to pick. So I think the leaders, if you draw the pole, you should be able to pick which side you want, especially because some nights at Ohsweken you can get dominant. But so then Nicky fell back because he was on the pole. Turkey led the whole race pretty much and had to go through a whole bunch of cautions. Holly Porter looked really, really good. She was rolling the bottom, and that made me look silly for not going because my lane was working, and she almost drove up and won the thing. And got by Ryan Turner.
Yeah.
And then finally Ryan Turner was going real good as well. And then late caution, and Turkey just couldn't hold him off on the last yellow. And Turkey did it perfect. The only thing, like on the very last lap going into 3, he had been sailing in on the outside, very outside. And on the last lap, he kind of tried to do his ghost slide job on himself and didn't get low enough. And anytime I see someone on the last lap do different than what they are doing the previous laps, and people do it a lot of times, on the very last lap, they'll think, I'm going to try to block the guy, or they'll have some great idea. And it never works out. I swear it. And it didn't work out for old Aaron Turkey, and Ryan Turner got the win, picked it up on the last lap. And that's feature wins in 2 different cars for Ryan this year. And I gotta say that's mighty impressive.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad you brought that up and pointed that out about the change in lanes from Turkey, because does that just come down to race car driver playing defense, and that's what that move ends? That's when you end up with that kind of move, or is it more? Is it the pressure from behind? What is it that goes through your mind that tells you that If you've had something that's working all race long, you got to change that up for that final lap or
because
that final stretch.
for Aaron's case, like he had seen Ryan down there and stuff, so he was trying to block him, but that doesn't work out. But there's one situation like that really sticks out in my mind that I saw at Ranceville one time, and I believe it was Kenny Wills led the whole race, and Stuart Friesen started last, and it was like a no caution race, and Stewie got up to second. On the last lap, he just barely got to Kenny's bumper, and Kenny been running the top the whole time, and Stewie threw it under him so many times, just trying to show a nose and try to make him think that he's there. And sure enough, he got him to bite. And on the last lap, Wills goes to the bottom in 3 and 4, and Friesen drives around him and takes the win. And that's like the number one case of that. I think I seen Randy Chrysler do it at Ranceville too at one time. Just change your line going into 3. You've been doing because you've been doing the other thing 20, in their case 29 times. In Aaron's case, he was doing the same thing 24 times, and then that one time for the money you change it up, and never goes well, if you ask me. So always just try to stick to your guns. Yeah,
for sure. And speaking of turners, let's go right to the Cool Kids Core Pack Sprints point standings. Corey Turner ends up with the title. He is the track champion in that division, winning it over Liam Martin, Ryan Turner, Mitch Brown, and Nick Sheridan, bringing it home fifth in points.
Corey just had to finish 15th, I think, or better, and that's if Liam won, so it was pretty wrapped up. So Corey said he was sick of points racing in his interview there, and so he got her done. And where did Liam finish in the race? I can't remember
that. I just read that. Liam brought it home.
It was never really like, Liam's leading thing.
Sixth.
So Corey pretty much had
her lip. There was never any immediate danger of like.
I would have liked to see what happens if Ryan just didn't have the motor trouble on that Monday night show, where I ripped the front wheel off in the B-main. Because it would have been interesting as heck.
Well, it's funny that Corey was sick of points racing, because he did bring it home 14th. Like, it wasn't necessarily like, he got in the top 10, he would have won it anyways. Like, if Liam was up there, it could have got real close. But thankfully for Corey Turner, it did not get any closer than it needed to be, and he is track champion. And like you say, Ryan probably would have been right there if he didn't miss that one feature.
Who was fourth?
Taking a look
Mitch
at
Brown?
The crate sprints. In points or in the finish?
Points.
In the points, it was Mitch Brown, yeah.
Yeah, so.
And I think, oddly enough, he was fourth in the race, too. So,
so and then Nicky, all the guys up front all year.
Yeah, exactly. Even, looking back through the field, right? Like, Josh Hansen ends up 6th in points. Aaron Turkey ends up 7th. Jacob Dykstra, who's one of the drivers who went for a wild ride on Friday night, ended up 9th. Was that in his crate? Now I'm trying to remember.
No, that was 360.
Crate or in his 360?
Him and Mac DeMann.
Right.
And that's one thing we should touch on, too, how Mac DeMann got wedged between the wall and the fence.
Yeah, that was freaky for a minute there. I was glad he jumped out of it pretty quickly when I was watching on YouTube on the G-Force broadcast, but that was definitely one of the moments
when they first redid that wall. I remember on Facebook people mentioning that a car could get wedged in there, and there it was. So maybe they got to flatten that out or something.
Yeah, there's probably some kind of solution. I'm sure they're going to review all the footage, and thankfully where that one camera was.
Because I definitely wouldn't want to be stuck down in there like upside down. That would be the world's worst nightmare.
Yes, absolutely, right? Because even if, hopefully anybody who would end up in that situation, hopefully if there ever was a situation like that, would be okay. But if you're okay, then even still, it's pretty claustrophobic to try to jump out of that.
I just know it scared me when you got stuck between that fence. I think they got to do something about it.
It's definitely something to look at. Something we should turn our attention to is the crate sprints. And Lucas Smith brings it home, winning the race over Darren Dryden, Brett Stratford, Jesse Costa, and Eric Gledhill.
That one, Lucas Smith was kind of points racing, but you wouldn't have known it. He made a bunch of crazy moves to get the lead, and then in lap traffic, and he did the ultimate, win the race and win the points just to cap it off. It's basically every driver's dream.
Yeah. Exactly, right? If you're going to win it, you may as well go out in style, and that's exactly what Lucas Smith did. Ends up winning it over Eric Gledhill. Brett Stratford brings it home 3rd in points. Jesse Costa 4th in points, and Darren Dryden 5th in points. Would have been interesting to see where Darren would have ended up in points if he had that one extra feature, another guy, because he won 4 times, right? So he wins 4 times, and he still only was 63 points back of the title without that one race. So We could have been
That
looking at a
race,
track championship for Darren Dryden. Yep.
I will say that race was a little boring than normal for the crates. Like crates usually race like crazy, but that one, I think he won by
Mm-hmm.
like 6 seconds or something. And once Lucas got the lead, it was pretty much you knew Lucas was going to win, and Darren second, and Brett, or no, Gledhill second, and Brett third. You basically knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I wanted to see Darren try to close in and make it interesting at least, but yeah, Lucas was just on a rocket, and he ends up with like I say, the perfect exclamation mark on the season. 3 wins, 10 top 5s, 11 top 10s out of 12 features, and the points victory track championship there in the crate sprints. A couple divisions that raced on Friday that don't have their points pictures totally figured out just yet. The Middleport Mechanical Thunderstocks, Brian Beagle gets it done there. That was a great race too. I know you mentioned it a little earlier, but that Beagle Bailey duel at the end, I didn't think Beagle was going to be able to get him, but
Yeah.
that was
The only
impressive.
thing that'll make the 360 race stand out a little bit, it wasn't the same usual suspects. It was Turkey versus Turner. So it was a couple new guys, whereas Beagle versus Bailey, like you almost come to expect
Mm-hmm.
them to be battling with a little bit like just a nose at the line. Like I think they've done it 2 or 3 times now this year. And I remember watching, I was
Yeah.
racing while watching it. And I remember Bailey like leading with 2 to go. I'm thinking, he's got it. And then out of nowhere, I look and there's old Ryan Beagle in victory lane. Both Southern Ontario Dirt Show
Mm-hmm.
guests, might add.
Exactly. Pays to be a guest on the show. Ken Sargent brings it home third. Mark Fawcett fourth, and Trevor DeBoer rounds out your top 5 there. So there'll be one more race left in the Thunderstock point standings as they go, and it's 40 points between Beagle and Bailey. So Beagle's got some work to do, but if Bailey has trouble, and you never know, could be
Yep,
Beagle who steals it away.
definitely gonna need some help, but doable.
Mm-hmm. And then over on the mini stock side, Tristan De Silva ends up winning that one over Ryan Hiller, Eric York, Wade Thomas, and Tim DeBoer. That's your top 5. And one name you probably didn't see there or hear there was Tyler Lafantaisie, who had himself some engine problems that played in. And we're going to talk to Tyler a little later in the show. Track champion at Merrittville. We'll touch on his story on Saturday night. But that's like the first time we've really had like a big shakeup. I feel like in terms of drivers winning and somebody not named Lafantaisie going to
Yeah, when
victory
your
lane in
top
the mini
dog has
stocks.
trouble, that's when everyone else starts licking their chops. That's what you all hope for. And yeah, De Silva ran an awesome race. He's been faster than the year. I remember one race I was watching for sure that he led it at the beginning. I think Lafantaisie got him later on, but yeah, good for him to pick up the win. Nice to see someone different.
Mhm.
Although, yeah,
Yep, he is based on my results, he is only the 4th other driver not named Tyler Lafantaisie to win a feature. Besides Oliveri, Hughes has one, Eric York has one, and Rodney Rutherford was the other one who got a win. And Lafantaisie got a 131 point lead, so he will be track champion even with the trouble
yep,
on
he can
Friday
go to the
night and
beach
one
if he
race to
wants.
go. I mean, he's earned it, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's head on over to Merrittville Speedway on Saturday night. Another great race, a great night of racing for us. I mean, we had some serious, fantastic points duels. You want to start right off with the 358s? I mean, Scott Wood. First of all, the John Spencer Memorial 50 lap feature, that race on a whole was so good. I mean, there was so much drama from cautions to Scott Wood being like pushed out wide and almost, I think, almost drove into the wall going towards the pits on the 4th lap and then comes all the way back to win it. So that was pretty impressive stuff from Scott Wood to bring home the feature. I feel like that this has been coming. Like Scott Wood has just been one of those drivers where I know he is going to win one. It's going to break through, and I for one was glad to
Fun
see him
fact:
finally get
Scott
it.
Wood's rookie year in 358 modifieds was the year I was born, 1987. So he's definitely used that veteran. Like he's usually good for at least one a year. Last year he got more than one. He won a good big one at Humberstone. I think he won All Canadian, and I know he got 1 or 2 at Merrittville last year. So, but then this year he was off a little bit for his last year's standards. But there you go, Jerry Spencer Memorial picked it up, and I think it's the first time he's won that in a while. I'm sure he's won it before, but John Spencer.
John
I knew I
Spencer.
messed that
You're
up.
mixing up your Morse. You got the Jerry Winger and the John Spencer.
Who I just
It's
learned,
hard to
like,
mix up.
did you see that
Or it's easy to
Merrittville
mix up.
post? And like, I learned his whole story. Man, that was awesome. Yeah, I didn't know
Yeah.
all that before. Like, how
Yeah,
he
that was a
died
good one.
at whatever that track is, which was in Niagara Falls. Stamford or something.
Yep.
Stamford Park.
I think it was.
Yeah,
Was it
something
Stanford
like
Park?
that.
Yeah, I feel like that's what it was.
Watched a.
I did read that because I announced it.
I just watched a YouTube video on something where
You just watched what?
like one of the more popular mechanics / drivers back in the day. I can't remember his name, but he won like a convertible NASCAR race at that track. And then I just read like the very next day about John Winger Spence. Was it? Yeah, John Spence. I missed it again.
Yeah, you did it again.
John Spencer.
John Spencer.
Yes. But yeah, and then he died at the same track where.
Well played. That was awesome.
Those are hard.
When NASCAR had that race. Yeah, try being the announcer, and then I got the union committee giving me all the information. There's almost too much information to get through, but I got through it.
I love that
so
stuff,
let's get through the top 5 here too. Scott Wood brings it. Yeah, it's great, eh? It really is. Scott Wood, Gary Lindbergh, Dalton Slack, Luke Carlton, and Pete Bicknell, your top 5. And we got to talk about the points battle now. So Lindbergh brings it home second. Bicknell 5th. One name you didn't hear inside the top 5 was Ryan Susie, who brought it home 6th. If you weren't there on Saturday night, I'm not sure if this one's up on GeForce yet. I haven't for sure checked yet. But this is a race to go back and watch. Like this felt like I was calling one of those really dramatic like NASCAR chase points battles where like drivers have incidents and then you're watching like the ticker in real time, except I was the ticker that had to be calculating points on the fly between Susie, Bicknell, and Lindbergh for where everybody was, because Gary got out to the lead at one point, and while he got out to the lead, Pete and Ryan started just door slamming each other out of nowhere. Pete was, I don't know if he was just thought he was clear a couple times and wasn't, or if he was just so determined to make sure that he got in front of Ryan that he was willing to drive into the door of him. But Pete and Ryan were going at it, and I think it honestly hurt both of their cars, especially Ryan. Ryan, I think, dropped back. I think he dropped back as low as 8th at one point. Kind of had to fight his way back up through the field. And when he was down there, even when he was running in 7th, he needed to get past Brad Rouse with 2 laps to go. Or maybe it was longer than that. It might have been 5 laps to go, actually. But he needed to pass Brad Rouse to get even with Gary Lindbergh, who had lost the lead about the halfway mark to Scott Wood. Because if Lindbergh had been able to hang on to the lead, it was over. Like Susie had already fallen back too far.
Yeah, sounds like. I'm bummed that I didn't go, to be honest with you, because it sounds like definitely an awesome race. The one for the ages for sure. And yeah.
It really was, man. Like, I can't believe like the drama of it. Like, there's always going to be tight points battles, and there's always going to be things that happen. But like when it happens in your own backyard and you get to be a part of it, you get to be on the call, you get to watch it live play out like that. It was crazy. It's definitely one to go back and watch. Maybe it's something we need to do in the off season is like set up like a Twitch stream and like go back and watch like races from the year on GeForce, and then just like live stream and react to stuff. That'd be cool. Pick like the top 5 races of the year, the top 10 races, because that was definitely a top 5.
Yeah, but like just for the fact that they had to be co-champions after had to be at least 20 nights, right? Because we're on episode 20. We started first, and they haven't rained out. So yeah, it was 20 nights at least, probably more because they had double. Didn't they have double a Saturday, Monday once? Probably. Yeah. So it's probably.
Yeah, I think we had one rain out earlier in the year, but
you guys did have one. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like it was early, like May or even April or something. It was really
first
early,
time ever.
But yeah,
first time ever.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about the tie? Yeah, how do you feel about the co-champion thing?
Yeah, it's gotta. I don't want to say it's gotta hurt, but like, I'm sure they're both would be rather champions fully. Like I know when I was having coffee break with Matt Williamson last year, like he was co-champions with Rudolph at Ransomville, and he was telling me how like he made damn sure they said like his jacket better not say co-champion, even though it is co-champion. Like the jacket better just say champion. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's what Matt thinks about it.
So would you rather have that, or would you rather have it be a tiebreaker based on like, I guess you would go with feature wins first, and then you probably go top fives, then top tens as your
Ooh, yeah,
tiebreakers.
tiebreaker. Yeah, you probably have. Yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't one. Yeah, good. I never even thought of that.
That was just be. I think that would be like the most obvious thing to go down to is you go if you're tied on points, then you would go to your whoever's got the
I
most
feel like
feature wins
feature
on the
wins they'd
year.
be tied. Didn't they both have two? What do you got there? You got the
I
stats.
think you're, I think you're right on that. Let's see. If I go to Susie here, Susie's the question mark because I feel like Susie may have gotten three, but he has 3 wins on the year. But I think one of them may have come at
100% because
Ransomville,
he
and I think
swept.
that's what I'm seeing
I
here.
believe he swept the weekend after he was on our show. So he 100% has one.
Yes, because he got one on July 30th, and then he won where's the other win he has at Merrittville? The 14th, and then the 20th is when he won at Rant, or no, sorry, the 13th is when
Yeah.
you were right, he swept it. So that was his two, and then yeah, like you say, Lindbergh had two as well. So
there goes that. Yeah.
guess you would have gone down to top
Yeah, it
fives.
gets tough at that point. If it wins don't settle it, co-champions.
Actually, hold that thought,
Hold it.
because I think Gary's first win of the year might not have counted for
Nope,
points.
it did.
Because didn't he win?
Nope,
No, he
nope.
didn't even win that one.
That was
no.
Pete.
So that's
Pete won the
that was
one
Pete,
that was not
right?
points.
So okay, so I'm looking over Gary's stats, and unless I'm making it up, he didn't win. He only has one win at Merrittville this year,
Okay, so yeah.
according to my race pass. Anyways, I'm going through it right now, and I'm not seeing.
That
I
might
thought
be
he
right.
got one early in the year, but maybe.
I think that's when it was. He hasn't won in a while at Merrittville.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, so in that
Yeah.
case, the tiebreaker would have gone to Susie.
Yep.
At least based on my magical rules. But obviously, we don't go by those rules, and we've got two champions. And you know what? It's annoying that I came all the way down to that, and you guys are still tied. But I think both drivers should be really proud of the seasons they had. And,
Oh, no doubt about
just,
that.
Consider yourself a champion.
Yep, and they
Right,
both
so-
have championships before. Like I say, Ryan, multi-time 358 champion at Ransomville. He had a three-peat at one point where he won 3 in a row. So, Yep.
And then this is his first title at Merrittville, right?
Yep. Yeah, it'll just make him that much
Yeah,
hungrier. Gary has one. He won in 2019 or whatever it was, 2020.
Yeah.
2019. Yep.
2019, yeah.
So yeah, they got to
first
share
year
this
at the
year.
track is when he won it.
Sharing is caring.
It happens.
Yep.
Exactly right. Let's turn our attention to the rest of the results here. In the sportsman, Nelson Mason gets it done, winning over Cody McPherson, Jordan Costco, Trevor Wright, and Adam Leslie. That championship was already wrapped up. Cody McPherson wins it, and I think he was saying on the on the front stretch when I was interviewing him about his championship, he's finished fifth, or he finished second 5 times in a row, I think, or something like that at Merrittville. So one more second, why not, just to wrap up the year. But our good pal Nelson Mason, one of our first guests on the show, Nelson, I have never seen a guy hit the inside barrier commander 3 multiple times, or 3 and 4 multiple times, and not break the race car. But that's exactly what he did, to the point where he was literally launching the thing in the air, and like to the point I thought he might flip a couple times while he was leading. He was just so determined to be as low as possible on the racetrack. It was so wild watching Nelson run those laps and end up holding off Cody McPherson, who's arguably the best in the business right now.
Yeah, now you say that. I have lots of experience doing that in a 358. Just I wasn't in the lead. So yeah, Nelson, though, I'm impressed with him. Definitely got to call him newcomer of the year or something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like third time he's in victory lane. Second one that actually
the other
counts.
one counts if you ask me.
The safety issue on the second win. I'd say count it too. I mean, it's a dirt car rule that he broke, and it was a safety rule. But at the end of the day, the car won the race, and the driver won the race. He just wasn't buckled properly according to the rule book. But that is what it is. But yeah, for sure, basically 3 feature wins on the year. I mean, out of nowhere, at an open wheel racing, a whole different kind of modified vehicle, basically. But yeah, really impressive stuff from him, and he ends up with that win. and he missed a couple nights too, so he didn't end up that high in points. But the final points tally for the Sportsman, McPherson wins it over Friesen, Mallory, Knapp, and
Yeah,
Leslie.
that's
Your
pretty
top
cool. So
five.
Mallory and Knapp didn't get any feature wins, but they squeak in the top 5. Leslie picked up 1 win. And then, yeah, and JMF, a couple wins
Mm-hmm.
there. And he won the non points one for the Sportsman as well. So basically the Cody McPherson show with other features
Yes.
guests.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and I guess I should. I don't think I read the top five fully of the modified feature or the modified points either. So, Lindbergh and Susie, your co-champions. Pete McNell third, Williamson fourth, and Chevalier fifth. So that's how those points shook out. And let's go to the Hoosier Sox, which again, great race. Um, we got another Mark Fawcett versus Dave Bailey feature. That was a fun one. Um, Kind of wish Mark ran the full season at Merrittville and made every show because especially the way he's come on in the last couple of weeks. I think that's for 3 wins in 4 weeks or 4 wins in 5 weeks or something like that at Merrittville for Mark, and he could have been a really good thorn in the side
Yeah,
of
you're
Bailey all
definitely
season long
right.
if he was there.
I've can remember a couple seasons where he was definitely finishing second, and if he did not win one, maybe, but I can't remember. Or maybe I know for sure there was one with he was real tight on the last night, and so yeah, he's no stranger to points racing either. But yeah, he might have had something for Bailey. I don't want to say had something for Bailey, but made it a little interesting anyway.
Definitely. So the top five in the race was Fawcett Bailey, Kyle Pelrine, Zach Bleach, Donnie Lampman. And top five in points ended up Dave Bailey winning it over Kyle Pelrine, Donnie Lampman third, Zach Bleach fourth, and Jason Fontaine
Yep,
fifth.
Dave Bailey wins championship number 745.
Right? Like just it's insane how many
Mm-hmm.
rings and trophies that guy has. We should have asked him on the show last week if he has a total, if he is actually
Yeah,
aware of the
for sure.
total.
I think yeah, I saw something on the cast car weekend where they said all of them. It's in the almost a 20 range, I think. But the other guy, yeah, we
Yeah.
said it a couple times, is Pellerine in second. I'm just sure they're definitely pumped on that team. That's definitely a high finish for them in
Mm-hmm.
points. And they did get to feature win Bill this year as well. So yeah, full season complete. I'm sure that whole team is just going to be
Yeah.
stoked throughout the off season, and that makes the off season a lot easier when you have a season like he did.
And you know what? The other thing too is a pretty special year for him too. Obviously, with the passing of Mikey Granton, who has helped Kyle in so many ways, and I believe also was his father-in-law. If I'm correct on that one, hopefully I'm not messing up the family tree on that one, but I believe it was Kyle's father-in-law was Mikey Granton. So
I think
apologies if
that's
I've got
wrong.
that
That's
wrong in my
Hallowell.
head, but I'm pretty sure I got that right.
Hallowell is his.
Oh,
Yeah.
is it Hallowell? Oh, so then it's Hollowell. So I knew it was one of. I couldn't remember if it was Hollowell because he was going in, or if it was
Hallowell
Grant.
because he's going in.
Somebody was related to Kyle Pelrine. So yes, okay, that's what the story was. Because I'm pretty sure Kyle won either on the night that Brian Hallowell went up to the rafters, um, or on the Wall of Fame, I should say, not rafters, because we don't really have any rafters. So yeah, okay, so I've got it
Yep.
straight in my head. Too many facts along the way. I need to start writing these things down. If I started writing down, I could have like a crazy billboard of like family trees and who's related to who and how and whatever. But yes, okay, you've got that right. So it's Brian Hollowell that was the
Yeah.
connection for Kyle Pelrine. So all right, got that straightened out now. And if somebody else has some correction for me, you can always text us. Too many hit radio shows. You can always email us, Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Tweet us at SODSPod, SODS_pod on Twitter. You can DM us on Instagram, message us on Facebook, whatever it is. If you got a correction for us, just give us the correction. We can take the criticism, especially because I mix up too many things, too many concussions.
I
In my
challenge
lifetime.
you on air tomorrow to get a plug in for the Southern Ontario Dirt Show.
Oh, I can do that.
I
No
tried to
problem.
text the
No
text box
problem.
today, but I don't think I got
That's
in time. I didn't realize it was that popular. You had a bunch of fun ones today.
yeah, man. I was surprised too. I've been covering for Joey Ricks all weekend long or all week long on 97.7 Hits FM, and it's been a blast. And Hits Nation is hooking us up with lots of texts, and yeah, why not? let's plug our show. Get all the racing fans, all the people who keep asking me stuff about Kyle Busch and who my favorite
Because what
drivers
my
are
text
and
box
who I think is going to
question,
win the championship.
yeah,
You
sorry,
guys
keep
can
going.
listen to
Yeah.
dirt
But my
stuff.
text box question,
I was just gonna
yeah,
say you can listen dirt stuff.
dirt stuff for sure. But like my text box question, would it was like name a few of your favorite podcasts. So I would have let right. I was trying to open it up so you could say your LaJoy one or your
Yeah,
F1 one that you like, and then throw ours in too.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course, got to plug it in. We're
Which
definitely on the
ones are the
same
ones you
level
listen
as
to
well as
again? What are
Roy
your favorite
LaJoyce.
podcasts other than ours?
So I like. Okay, so I like Stacking Pennies. That is Corey LaJoy's NASCAR podcast with Chuck Bush, Jonathan Merriman, and Ryan. It's either Brian or Ryan
Yeah,
Flores. Flores.
Ryan.
Flores. But he's a crew. He's a
Yeah.
crew guy on Ryan Blaney's car, and he gives a lot of good pit stop insight. I also really like either the TSN Racing Pod or I'll go to Scuderia Formula One podcast for if I want to hear something F1 wise. If I want to listen to anything dirt wise, it always comes back to us, and of course, Race Rivals for GeForce TV. They're not technically a podcast, but they're basically a podcast. If you're not watching the screen while they're on, it's basically the same thing as watching
Yeah.
a podcast. So I consider those guys a podcast. So I'd say they're one of the favorites, and then at least that's in terms of what I listen to for racing stuff. And I listen to After the Whistle with Andrew Peters and Craig Rivet
like
for
that
Hockey
one.
Talk.
Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, it's a good Sabres one for all my Sabres guys. They don't just talk about the Sabres, but two former Buffalo Sabres with a podcast there, and they're two pretty gritty guys, so it's pretty unfiltered stuff, which
I'm
is fun.
spitting chicklets for hockey. Dale
Nice.
Junior download for NASCAR, and more than NASCAR, obviously that one.
Yep.
But I fast forward through the ads. It feels like it's half ads in that one. It's like holy moly. And sometimes I will fast forward through their general
Well,
talk, and
especially
I
when they're
will
so
get right to
long.
their interviews. But then a good F1 one that I recommend is Beyond the Grid. And
Oh,
yeah,
good one. Yep.
what else do I got? Passing points for sprint cars. I enjoy that one a little bit, but sometimes they don't know how to guess on that one. But I used to like Open Red, but dang, those guys would have a World of Outlaw podcast and then be like short on World of Outlaws history and stuff. And like, I was like, holy, how do you guys not know that sometimes with them? So, and they haven't been around much. And then there's a couple other ones, but my favorite
Yeah.
engine building one is the Total Seal Piston Rings. I forget what it's called. Hidden Horsepower. I love that one. It's probably over a lot of people's heads, but
Nice.
that one, man, if you want to learn about engines, there's where you go.
All right, so that's my off-season listening as I learn about all the technical stuff. And we also should shout out our pals that I got to meet Graydon Bunn of the Stickers and Scuffs podcast, which if you like NASCAR Pinty's talk, I know we've talked about the NASCAR Pinty's stuff a little bit lately because of having Dave Bailey on the show and of course the Pinty's 100 dirt race. But if you like, uh, you know, paved stock car racing in Southern Ontario and across Canada, Stickers and Scuffs, a great show to check out as well. They cover that stuff pretty good. We got to roll on here with let's get to the mod lights. We'll wrap up mod
Mini
lights
stocks.
and the 4 cylinders from Merrittville. Yep, and then we'll get to our mini stock champion and our guest Tyler Lafantaisie. Before we get there, Tyler Winger ends up with the win in the Rona Deutsch mod lights over Josh Slater, Brent Begelow, Ryan Anderson, and Sean Iftati. Points wise, that was one of the championships that was relatively in play, and Josh Slater did make up 4 points on Brent Begelow by finishing second, but still lost the championship by 20 points. Brent Begelow is your champion over Josh Slater, Tyler Winger, Sean Iftati, and Rob Meiser.
Yeah. Awesome. Shout out to Tyler Winger for picking up win number 3. He's quietly had an awesome year.
Yeah.
Basically, other
He
than
really
Slider
has. Like,
and Bigelow, he's the
I
only
know he
winner, right?
capitalized on a couple of those wins. Yeah, exactly. He was the
Yeah.
only one not named Winger or Slater to win a race this year in the mod lights, and Tyler had like a very quiet, sneaky good year. He mentioned in Victory Lane he kind of fell off in the middle of the season. That probably kind of took him out of the points battle a little bit, but he was there to capitalize when Brent had issues early in the year, and then just wins went outright, driving off from Josh Slater in a caution-free race. I'm pretty sure was theirs the caution. Yeah, theirs was the caution-free race. I'm pretty sure on Saturday. Again, if I'm wrong, there's cars going in circles, man. It makes me dizzy after a while. I can't remember exact details, but Uh, let's get to the four cylinders. Tyler Lafantaisie wins the race and the championship, winning it over Kenny Hare, John Lubeck, Trevor DeBoer, and Vincent Pagnotta, the top five in the race. And championship wise, Tyler ends up with the points title over Trevor DeBoer, Austin Worstrow, Vincent Pagnotta, and Kenny Hare.
Yep, Tyler Lafantaisie show. Nothing else to be said about the mini stocks around here.
Yep.
And it's going to be fun to talk to him coming up here in a few minutes.
Yes, absolutely. We have to talk to him, and we have to ask him about his engine
Oh,
because
definitely.
if you didn't catch the race, if you didn't catch the interview, he had to put a whole new engine in after Ohsweken to go to Merrittville, to the point where he was considering that: do I let this thing maybe blow up and risk it blowing up in the heats, or do I risk, or do I just try to make this engine swap now? And with the engine swap, obviously, whatever motor they put in there was a winning one regardless. So let's catch up with Tyler Lafantaisie, your Vansicle Pet Value PV on the lane, four-cylinder track champion, and your track champion over at Ohsweken as well in the HRW Automotive Mini Stocks.
Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Want to support the Southern Ontario Dirt Show and help us expand our coverage across the province and Western New York? Well, your ad could be playing right here. Got a brand or business that deserves more attention? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com, to become a sponsor of the podcast. And now, let's get back to the show.
And joining us now on the Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast with Jonathon and Travis Cunningham, it is multi-track champion in the four cylinders, Tyler Lafantaisie. How's it going, Tyler? How has championship week been treating you?
Yeah, it's been pretty good. Just car's still sitting on the trailer. Just kind of enjoying the kind of the satisfaction. It's been a great
Yeah, I
year.
said
It's
earlier when we
crazy.
were doing our review of the Ohsweken season, you can go to the beach Friday if you want. You can just leave the car on the trailer. You've already got that second championship of the year wrapped up. Just talk about the difference between running Merrittville and Ohsweken every week in your little Cobalt there.
Yeah, you know what? It's actually like a lot of work goes into the cars, but the car's so dialed in. All I do is switch tire size. I just go to bigger tires for Ohsweken, and that pretty well just dials my gear ratio. So between the two, it's not too much changes throughout the week. It's just maintenance, making sure
What about
nothing's falling
driving
off the tire.
style? Like, I know a lot of times you're hugging the rail at Ohsweken, and then whereas Merrittville, you're kind of doing the both kind of thing.
Yeah, you know what? I try to go. You can only pass people where they aren't, and I find Ohsweken a lot of the guys like to run middle of the top. So
Yeah.
if there's no cars on the bottom, I go down there. If there's no cars on the top, I kind of try and squeeze out there. So
Yeah, same thing at Merrittville. Merrittville, I see a lot more moving around because it's probably the other way at Merrittville. A lot of guys are plugging the bottom up, huh?
it goes both ways. Like depends on the track conditions, but like I said, my car I
Yeah.
feel so comfortable with both tracks that I can pretty well put it wherever I need.
Yep, it's the best feeling ever.
Yeah, you can see that comfort level too. Like especially like me watching you on Saturday nights. Like you're usually starting either deep in the field or like mid pack, and by the first half of the race, you've kind of started to really weave your way through. Just talk to us about the chaos of the mini stocks because I find them kind of similar to the street stocks this year in terms of the way you guys kind of almost have pack racing going on.
Yeah, well, it's nice. Same with like street stock is the full fendered racing. Like guys take advantage of not you don't flip over when you rub tires. So you get guys that run a lot closer. You're more comfortable running that 3-4 wide wherever you are. It's just it's I love starting in the back of the pack. I'm one of those guys. I sometimes like Humberstone they do draws. I'm not a fan of that because I think it's better racing watching the fast guys try to get to the front.
What about on a money show, like 1,000 to win show? You still want to start at the back for 1,000 to win show?
Um, like I don't know, it's hard to say. Like I
That's
think it's better
different.
racing for the fans. For the
Yeah.
fans, it's better racing, but for me, yeah, obviously, I'd like to get every position I can.
Yeah, because I think every class around here should be handicapping for like normal shows, and then for like the bigger shows, you can do like a group time trial or a draw or whatever you want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Nice. And then talk to us about you had a little bit of drama with the car in terms of the engine. So talk to us about that engine change and what happened to you Friday night at Ohsweken and then the work you had to do to get ready for Saturday at Merrittville.
Yeah, that was an interesting one because usually the car's pretty consistent, but at Ohsweken, even in the heat, I came off the heat, and Clinton Barrick usually helps me out there in the pits, and I come off, I'm like, man, the car's not running right, like something's up. Go with the feature, and sure enough, it started breaking up and sputtering. And the next morning, we looked at it, and the piston was actually touching the spark plug. So the either the rod stretched or it was ready to break. So I kind of got lucky. I even finished the race. So we kind of just rushed. We had to pull the engine out of one car to be able to even swap it into that car. So it was a busy day.
Okay, I'll be the first one to admit I'm a spoiled brat. I've only really ever worked on race cars. I haven't worked on street cars that much. So tell us like what's all entailed in swapping a motor over, because it's definitely ain't no sprint car 10-minute engine change you got going on there.
I get lucky because my sponsor where I work, Rob's Transmission, they I have free access to that shop anytime. So on the hoist, I can do it in about 2.5 hours. But like I said, I had to pull one out of one car. But when you pull on that car, we have to pull the engine tranny all in one shot, separate it all, switch all the parts back over to the new engine, and we're just running junkyard stuff. So you're switching the wiring harness and everything over. So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, is there stuff you can leave off, or like, do you need to like, or do you got to like mostly hook up and do all that kind of like? I have no idea. Or like,
yeah, pretty well the only thing that's not hooked up is emission stuff.
yeah, okay, yeah,
So if you guys know, cars are all like your EGR valves and purge valves and charcoal canisters, all that stuff. None of that's even there, right?
okay, yeah,
Just all blocked off.
yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, so that's crazy.
And talk to us, Tyler, about your team, because the Twisted Metal Racing team has been a team that's really taken over the mini stock class. Between yourself, Kyle Rothwell, Clinton Barrick had a number of great showings, a couple of wins at Merrittville. Just talk to us about uh, how you got involved with that team and what being a part of TMR really means.
It's a tough one because TMR kind of started as me and Kyle probably about 10, 11 years ago when we were doing enduros and stuff. And it was just about having fun. We went to the track, we worked together, we'd have people that come out, support the team, work. Just it was all about just helping each other out. We all own our own cars. We all put our own budget out. But the biggest thing for the team, our team, is just that being able to call someone else and say, "Hey, we're having this problem," and everybody jumps in. We all work together.
And that
Yeah,
teamwork really
definitely
works.
shows.
Yeah, it's insane. Like how good you guys all are. Talk to us about, you have Kyle to lean on, but talk to us about having a guy like Kyle to push you to lean on, because he has also been one of the most dominant drivers we've seen as of late in the four cylinders.
Yeah, me and Kyle. You know what? The biggest thing for me and Kyle is the competitiveness. Even though we're best friends and we work together as a team, we still race each other as hard as possible, and we push each other to drive for being better.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, so like, I'm always interested in like how people got their start in racing. So like, was TMR enduro's your start, or like you've been going since you're a kid, or what's the deal there?
So my start was I did start in enduros back when I was like 17, 18. But I've always been around the racetrack. My parents used to take me. I was that one kid that's sitting there in the grandstands playing with his little toy cars, watching the races. So I always dreamed of doing it. And I don't know if you remember Aaron Vassis when we did the school. We built the cars
At
pure stock in
Humberstone.
school. Yep.
Yes, yes.
So that was my first car. We ran that car with him. I learned how it worked to get into racing, and after that season, I ended up buying that car, and that's how I my first actual race car out in racing.
Yeah, so that would have been like mid 2000s, right? Yeah, I totally remember that car.
Yeah, so I ended up winning the championship in 2010 with that car,
Pure stock
and
or
then
whatever it was called.
yep,
Pure
yep,
stock.
pure stock, and then I ended
Yeah.
up selling that car to Rothwell, and he won the championship in 11.
Right, right, right. Yeah. Now, yep, it's all coming.
Yeah,
It's
Yeah.
all coming back now.
so that was kind of the start of our team there, and then we started to get into building our own cars, and just escalated from there quickly.
So like when you went to watch as a kid, just Merrittville Humberstone, or did you go any traveling or?
For me, mostly it was Merrittville. My parents we were local here, and that was our track to be. Once I started getting old enough to go out on my own, then that's when I started venturing out to the other tracks.
Gotcha.
Fair enough. So obviously, lots of success in the four cylinders. What about plans to either jump into any other seats? Is there a next step in your career? Do you like where you're at with the four cylinders?
I definitely want to move up to something. Budget's definitely the big deal there. I mean, racing's not cheap by any means, but the four cylinders are very friendly on the pocket. So if you like my car, it's pretty. Once you got it dialed in, there's not too much other than just keeping it going. Um, One of my dreams would be jumping into a sprint car. Me and Rothwell have been talking about maybe Sportsman, just because it's local for us. It's all up in the air. Depends on how the budget allows.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that almost leads into my next question. So, like a guy like you win 15 plus features in a year, and some of them are like 1,000 to win, and like even Ohsweken, like they pay all the tracks pay pretty well. So, like, what's like your winnings right now for? It's got to be pushing 5 Gs at least.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like bragging about her. Like, you know, look.
Just give me. You don't have to tell me exactly, but like yours has got to be pretty high.
Yeah,
That's the whole thing about moving up.
yeah.
Like,
I have about $5,000 sitting there from payouts after like all the expenses on the car this year. So it has done well for itself. I know some classes you can't do that. So it's definitely I'm putting that money away to try and work towards moving up. Hopefully next year, we'll see how it goes.
I like it. Yeah. Cause yeah, that's one thing. Like the one thing, like a bunch of wingless guys moved up to winged sprint car this year, thinking they're going to make more money, right? But then they quickly realized
Yeah,
15th doesn't pay as much as winning a wingless race, right? So like, for where you're going to move up, like that $5,000 might not be there. That's the whole thing. Like a guy like you cleaning up like that, it's almost like a second summer job.
yeah. You know what? I don't take it for granted. It's definitely works well. But you know what?
Yeah,
Keeps that car running, and I might try and build a second car or two this winter and see if I can get some other people in them and just to build up on the class.
yeah, you should definitely keep that around.
So let's talk about the class.
Yep.
Let's talk about the class, and you mentioned if you're going to build a car. Who are some of your competitors that you look towards that either really pushed you? If you were going to build a car for a TMR and you could pick any of your fellow four cylinder drivers, is there anybody you want to give a shout out to that you raced with this year that you think, yeah, you know what, I could, if I could give this guy a car like my car, I think we'd see a lot of wins from.
I think the biggest one comes to mind for me would be Alex Riley. He's driven for us in the past, and I'd love to see him back in a car again. I know behind one of our cars, he does well all the time. So
Yeah. If I was going to pick someone for that,
Yeah, he had a great
yeah,
run, a little like back
yeah,
mid-season.
Pagnata. I'd love to see Pagnata in a TMR car. Just see him get a win.
yeah,
He's so close. He almost won in his
yeah,
Mustang.
he has been doing well in that. It's been good racing with him.
Yeah, it's been best I've seen in like his whole career. I'm loving it. Vin's been around for a while.
Yeah,
Helped Pete Bicknell and that. Vinny's been around. Love to see him win one.
be a big difference for him though,
Eh,
front wheel drive racing. So we'll have to see how he like that.
No doubt. I know, yeah. Totally different driving style for sure.
I was just going to ask about that. Racing in the four cylinders, that's one of the unique things that you do see is that you see these front wheel versus rear wheel drive race cars. Do you think, obviously you've been very successful in the car you're running, but do you think you could jump behind the wheel of one of those Mustangs and find similar success, or is that something that
I've been in rear wheel
you
drive
really have to work to get
cars
your head
before. I
around?
had my Nissan 240. I did well in that one. Had a couple wins in that. Um, I ended up selling that, and then a couple years later built the Cobalt. It just way things rolled out. But it just I find that jumping in any car, even if it's guys from in a Mustang moving up to street stock, even though they're both rear wheel drive, it's still a learning curve because it's a new car, right?
Yeah. For, yeah, almost still completely different.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's a Camaro, completely
Yeah,
different setup
exactly.
for sure.
Exactly. It's all different, no matter what car you jump in.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, we'll get you out of here on this one. This is your chance to really think about and dream about what you want to drive. So I'm going to give you any car, any kind of race car in the world, and any racetrack to drive on for the rest of your life. What's the combination you pick?
That's a tough one. Definitely sprint car. Uh, Sprints I've always had they just catch my they look exactly like something I'd want to be in. Um, A lot of fast tracks that run sprint cars. I mean, like watching them run Bristol on dirt's pretty good. Knoxville looks like a fun track. Even Eldora, like definitely probably some of the bigger tracks. I'd love to see be able to try some of those bigger tracks with lots of speed out of one.
Oh, even Ohsweken, I can promise you a track you already know. Like when Ohsweken's prepped, juicy, and you can wide open in a
Oh
sprint car
yeah,
there. Whoo, baby. There's
yeah,
almost nothing better.
yeah. So yeah, I definitely track. I like bounce. I like the challenge of trying new tracks and going around. I'm actually going to try and I haven't been to Brighton before, which is surprising. So I'm going to try that out this year for Apple Fest. So we'll see how that goes.
Nice.
That'll be cool.
Awesome. Well, actually, we'll ask you then. The track championships have wrapped up. Besides Applefest, any other plans to get that 96T out through the fall?
I guess just the rest of Ohsweken and Merrittville. Anything that Humberstone comes up with, schedule whatever they post on the schedule, I'll probably show up for those races. But then Applefest, I guess that's pretty well the last one.
Yeah, so Humberstone, you've got big money race still.
Yeah,
the Pete Costco Memorial.
Yeah, so I'm not sure when they're going to be rescheduling all that for, but I'll definitely
September 18th.
Is that when they posted it? Perfect.
Yeah, so like Sprint Car Nationals at Ohsweken, then that Sunday will be Pete Costco Memorial at Humberstone.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Perfect.
Go get your money.
Yeah, we'll see what we can do there.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right, Tyler, thanks for taking the time tonight. Congratulations on all the success in amazing 2022 year. Hopefully we'll talk maybe a few more times, whether it be at Humberstone or the rest of Merrittville, or maybe I'll catch you even at Ohsweken. Thanks for taking the time, like I say again, and good luck the rest of the way in 2022.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on the show. I've been following it for a while. It's been awesome listening to you guys, and all the props you give out to the local tracks is great.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
We've been meaning to have you for a while. Dang.
Cheers, guys. Yeah, he's too good.
I know, slaps.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, guys.
Hey, do you like what you're hearing? Want to support the Southern Ontario Dirt Show and help us expand our coverage across the province and Western New York? Well, your ad could be playing right here. Got a brand or business that deserves more attention? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com, to become a sponsor of the podcast. And now, let's get back to the show.
And we're back after that great interview with Mini Stock and four-cylinder champion. Same thing, but it's two different tracks, so I got to call them two different things in my brain. Tyler Lafantaisie was awesome, and great to catch up with him. Great to finally have a Mini Stock driver on the show. I think that was the first one, right? Hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn, but I'm pretty sure that was the first guy who's currently driving Mini Stock. So good to catch up with a track champion like that. One of the things we're not talking about on this podcast is, again, the Pete Costco Memorial, which Mother Nature has it out for us right now, and that is getting pushed back to the 18th now. The 18th will be the Pete Costco Memorial at Humberstone.
Yeah, I like that date because there's no Merrittville or Humberstone or Ohsweken this week. I got Sportsman at Ohsweken and Modifieds as well. So I love that there's like no Merrittville, so it should be able to get lots of cars. And there's nothing competing with it. The only thing competing with it is Sprint Car Nationals, and there's no sprint cars on that card. So there's no excuse to have full fields in every single class because nobody will be racing Merrittville that weekend. So I want to see everybody at the Pete Costco Memorial, and they're paying big money in all classes. $3,017 to win 358s. I think it's $1,517 for sportsmen and late models. And yeah, I forget the rest of them, but it's all big money. I think $7 something for the mini. $717 for streets and minis, and
or
probably same for dwarfs.
Maybe
something like that.
But
either way, big money, all classes. No Merrittville scheduled, so all the cars go race for the big money and take some money home. Beer money.
Yeah, exactly. Breakfast is the day before at Merrittville, so I'll be calling that. But I'll get to come back and do some real racing coverage with you on the 18th. Looking forward to that. And you sent me an interesting little photo from Brighton, which you didn't go to Brighton this week to race, but you took yourself a nice little off weekend. But talk to me about that photo that you sent, because I don't think I've ever seen a sprint car tire look like that.
Yeah. So basically, Saturday night at Brighton, it was actually heavier. I watched a little bit on G-Force, And Dale Goslin picked up the win. Cool for him to win. He doesn't race all that much this year, so he in victory lane. That was awesome. But there was a bit of a cushion, and he was up on it. And he was able to pick up the win. Awesome battle with Josh Hansen. But then Saturday, the problem with the 2-day show is like the next day can be like a lot slicker and drier, and then they start at 6:00. So that sometimes, especially the tracks out there, can be a little bit more abrasive than tracks around here. Like tracks around here, you'd never see a canvas tire like I showed you in the picture. Like Sheridan's tire was like they were all canvas. Like Liam Martin's was going flat on the scales, and they were all down to nothing. They looked like a drag slick. Our tracks around here, with the exception of Ransomville, does never take rubber. And there's a difference between like a slick where the track does go black and it looks like rubber, but that's not taking rubber. That's more like a blue groove, a super slick. It's like driving on ice. And that's not hard on tires for the most part. And that's basically what Ohsweken, Humberstone, and Merrittville get like. And you can run tires for multiple weeks. But Brighton, it did that. Like a lot of announcers get that confused too. I'll hear them call like a dry slick track rubber, and that's not what it is. Rubber is when you see smoke pouring off the right rear, and it's literally a pavement track, like a dirt track turned into a pavement track, and you literally start driving it on the right front like a pavement car and everything, and it'll even smoke the front tires if it gets bad enough. And like if I had to race on stuff like that every week, I wouldn't be able to race straight up. So so when I saw that, I was kind of glad I didn't go, because that's $1,600 in tires for the weekend if that did that both nights. It didn't do it as much Friday nights, but those tracks can be just a little bit harder on tires. I hate to say that because I love going to Brighton. It's one of my favorite tracks ever. But the only drawback about it is hard on tires for the most part. Even the SOS MC3, that is a harder tire, but it gets into that pretty hard too. So all those tracks, Brighton, Brockville, and Cornwall, all awesome tracks, but harder on the tires, and that hurts young or more low buck racers like myself.
Fair enough. I mean, yeah, like when you sent me a bald dirt racing tire, I was like, where did that come from? Like I'm used to seeing that off of stock cars that have been on Flamborough or at and like that almost was like if you ran a sprint car on Darlington, that's what I would expect to see, man. Like it was wild, but it makes sense that you miss out on that one, or you take the weekend off, you avoid that, and it works out for you with the tire situation. But you're not taking this weekend off. You're going to be at Merrittville on Saturday for the SOS Tour, the Southern Ontario Sprints headline the show, a 50-lap dirt car sportsman event as well at Merrittville this weekend. Hoosier Stocks, the St. Catharines Husky Duel on the dirt combined races that night, and 4 cylinders and V6s in action. So I'm looking forward to be on the call for that. Looking forward to watching you race, pal. Are you guys off on Ohsweken on Friday?
Yep. Merrittville only for me, so hopefully a lot of cars make it out there. Hoping to see at least 20 360s ready to go. Always fun racing at Merrittville. And it's the end of the year, and the last few nights I've been watching on G-Force, and they've been looking not so slick by features, but the heat race is definitely in a lot more bitey, so could be a little bit different track conditions than I saw earlier in the year, where it was basically slick, heat race, and feature. So it's been raining all week. We definitely put more gear in it than we've been running, because I think it's going to be a little heavier, which is fun, because you can wide open Merrittville too in a sprint car if it's heavier, like not lift at Merrittville. Yeah, that's fun as heck too. Sometimes you just got to feather it out of 4 because it's so tight, but 1 and 2 easily wide open.
Crazy. You guys blows my mind. Anyways, I'm looking forward to watching that, and we'll catch maybe grab some extra interviews this week in the off week. Again, Southern Ontario Dirt Show at gmail.com if you want to send an email. And that's where we should end off. There was another email that came in from Rich, and I feel like he might be kind of confused on this, because he says, hey, here's a question for you. Why are the 360 sprint A-mains at Ohsweken only 20 laps? Seems too short. They should be 25 like other 360 sprint races in New York, Pennsylvania, and Ohio. Wasn't Friday's 25 laps?
Yep, but a regular feature is 20 laps. And I remember I think they did that because like a lot of local 360 tracks, that's just what they used to run. And so like all the mid-season championships and all the KOT races, and I think all the SOS races, they're all 25. So yeah, I can see them changing 25, but 20 ain't so bad either.
Want them to change to 25?
I honestly am indifferent on that one. 5 less laps, you
All I
gotta...
can think of is just.
Hmm?
I just think of the expense. I just think of like it's 5 more laps of fuel, 5 more laps on your tires, 5 more laps. Right? That's all I think about for you guys.
This year for
Cost
sure,
of-
and the
just
tire
cost of
shortage and
5
stuff,
laps.
but for a guy like me, that's a lower buck team. If you're holding on out front, that's just 5 less laps you gotta hold on to get the big money.
That too. That is true. But thanks for the question, Rich. And if anybody has any more questions, again, Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast is the place to send us an email, and we'll talk about it on the show. And yeah, I'm looking forward to keeping the show going as we get into the off season. Regular season championships starting to wrap up, but we're pretty much racing right up until through October. So with Humberstone's got some extra shows. It's gonna be good, and we'll have some off-season stuff coming down the pipeline. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Make sure you follow on the socials. If you got a dirt racing fan in your life, share the show with them, and we appreciate any and all feedback too. So make sure you follow the socials and share the podcast with your friends. Like and review, subscribe, all the fun stuff. It all helps us keep going with the show, and we'll work on some merch down the line here too. Something that's been coming for us, but I think by the off season we're gonna have something special for the first year.
By Christmas. Maybe.
Yeah, exactly. Right in time for Christmas. Southern Ontario Dirt Show podcast. Perfect Christmas gift under the tree. Thanks for listening, everybody. And yeah, right. And we'll see you at the racetrack near you.
And the checkered is out on another episode of the Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Be sure to rate, review, and subscribe for future episodes. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Southern Ontario Dirt Show. Have a question for the show? Email us, southernontariodirtshow@gmail.com. Thanks for supporting local racing in Southern Ontario, and we'll see you at the track.